Welcome to the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. Now enjoy the show. All right, guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing brand that proceeds of the shirts, the hats, and everything else go to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. This whole t-shirt company started from me taking care of a 5-year-old girl from the emergency department at the Children's Hospital I worked at in Atlanta for a while back. I thought I needed to do a little bit more than kind of just talk about my story. So this is how I started the clothing line, because I wanted to show people that even though diabetics have this really bad disease, we can still do amazing things in our life, and diabetes won't stop us reaching our goals. So go check out type1lifting.com. And, if you have any questions, you can always reach me out on Instagram. It's Type 1 Lifting, and hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey guys, we have a new sponsor for the Type 1 Lifting podcast. The company's called Liberté Lifestyle. So Liberté is a French word meaning freedom, and the company was founded on the desire to have freedom to choose what we want to do with our lives. I actually had the owner, Nicole, on my podcast on episode 28, so if you want to go back and listen to her, she talks about how she started the company and what she wants to do in the future with the company, which is pretty cool. So they actually have knee sleeves, wrist wraps, shirts, shorts. Love the knee sleeves. I have the ice cream knee sleeves, and I love them so much. The neoprene's still good. The seams haven't split compared to other knee sleeves that I've had in the past, and I'm planning to keep these for a very, very long time. So Nicole actually gave me a promo code for you guys too. So it's all capital letters, TYPE, and the number 1. So it's Type 1. So go to libertelifestyle.com, check out what they have in the store, use the promo code Type 1, and save some coin. Now let's go to the episode. All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I have a very special guest. His name is a CrossFit athlete. His name's Matt Dlugos. How's it going?
Good, man. It's great. How are you doing?
Not bad, not bad. So I was doing a lot of research on you, and I was mainly able to do some research via podcast because it's a lot easier for me to drive back and forth and to kind of listen to what other people ask you questions. So you've been on a couple podcasts. So what do you think about podcasting, and have you gotten comfortable doing them?
It kind of depends. I think that, different people do podcasts different ways. I like the type that it's a little more laid back and a little bit more, conversational instead of the typical, hey, here's a question, here's the answer, next question. I like to talk and I like to listen as much as anybody else. So yeah, it's a little bit different, and I guess it just kind of depends on the person. But I think that I'm getting more comfortable, at least sharing about myself and being able to figure out my thoughts and put them in the answer. So.
Yeah. So I'm one of your biggest fans because I myself am a taller individual. So I'm 6'6".
Wow.
And I do CrossFit. So, I saw you originally at the West Coast Classic last year, and I was like, okay, here's this dude that's my height, and it's someone to root for, because I always rooting for the taller guys, like Royce Dunn, Brent Frykowski, and all those kind of guys. So roughly, to the audience, how tall are you?
I am 6'4", definitely with shoes on. I like to back in the basketball days, you like to kind of pump yourself up a little bit.
Yep.
And now that I'm in CrossFit, it's you almost do the opposite. I'm trying to get myself down, but I can't escape it. I'm 6'4" with shoes on.
Yeah. Well, technically, don't you shrink a little bit with all that back squatting and Olympic weightlifting anyway?
I mean, a little bit. You would think so. Justin's been having us do some heavy yoke carries as well. So just putting that 600 pounds on your back, that'll definitely take you down a little bit.
No, I hear you. I was 6'6", and then I'm measure myself. I'm 6'5". I'm there's no way. Granted, I'm 42, so I'm getting older and I'm starting to shrink a little bit, I guess. But it's no, there's no way all this squatting has made me shorter. No, there's no way. But yeah, so you're originally from Morgantown, West Virginia. So what was it like living in pretty much a party college area?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question, and I wish that I could answer it better. But I didn't even really experience a lot of that party scene. I was lucky enough, I was raised in a really good family. They taught me some pretty good morals and everything like that. And then whenever I got into college, I actually started doing CrossFit. So I kind of like drank the Kool-Aid early and really decided that I wanted to try to put an emphasis on health and fitness. So, with that, like partying, drinking, going out until however late, like that stuff doesn't always align. I didn't know that I wanted to be a competitor at that point. I just knew that I wanted to, start to take my health seriously, see what my body can do, see what it was capable of, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, like I said, I wish that I could answer a little bit better, but that life wasn't really for me.
Yeah, but you had like a couple days here and there that you would actually have a couple drinks and stuff.
What I've found now is that like it's very occasional that I will have a drink. Usually it's some kind of a celebration, like typically after any kind of competition, like out in Miami, after Wadapalooza, after West Coast out here, or even like ending quarterfinals, ending the open, things like that. That's typically where I'll start to, kind of have some fun and enjoy myself. But yeah, for the most part, it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm at the point I'm at like maybe one drink a week. I'm usually like on a Friday or something like that. But then it's like realizing like the next day you just feel like garbage, and it's just like, is it really worth like that one drink just to kind of make you a little bit more relaxed to feel it the next day?
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, like this sounds terrible, but I would rather, like, if I'm going to drink, I would rather celebrate, go all out, have a great time, rather than just like, have a drink here, have a drink there. Cause I know how it affects my training. I know how I'll feel the next day and how I'll recover and all that. So yeah, it's just not.
Yeah. So you said
you're the greatest for all that stuff.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm at the point where like, I'm friends with Matt O'Keefe. And so I've known him for like 20 years because I'm originally from Massachusetts, and that's how I met him, like at one of the bars I used to work at. And so like he was telling me he's actually like, I think it's like 11 years sober right now. And I'm like, I really think it's about that time to get to that level.
Yeah, that's amazing. 11 years sober is incredible.
Yeah.
That's a great story. How is that? I guess like, this isn't a typical interview style, but I want to ask you, what's that like to see him go from, wherever you guys were at 20 years ago or however long ago, all the way into where he's at now? That's got to be.
Oh yeah. So when I first met him, he was working at a car dealership as like family's car dealership for a little while. I think it was like a Chevy dealership. And so he would come like every weekend. And this is like prior to kids and stuff like that. This is like when I was just about to like leave for the military and everything, but like he would come like every weekend, and he was one of the nicest dudes. And then pretty much what would happen is, if we got in trouble or something like that, or if anything, if we needed help or something like that at the bar, he would come and help out. And he was like always there, and always was like, hey, how are you doing? Making sure that he's okay. And then I when I went to the Air Force, I was out for like 7 years. So I didn't see him for 7 years, and all of a sudden, like I started getting into CrossFit, and then all of a sudden I see his picture with like Matt Fraser and like all these other people, and I'm like, wait a second, I think I know this guy, because he was a lot heavier back in the day too.
Yeah.
And so I was like looking at him, and then all of a sudden, like I saw him on an Instagram post of my buddy's wedding, and it was him, and so like they tagged him, and I was like, oh shit, I know this dude. And so yeah. I had him on my podcast last year, and he was like, I know you from somewhere, because I haven't talked to him ever since I left for the Air Force, and that was a while. And I'm like, Dylan's, that's the bar he worked at. And he's like, oh, okay, I know who you are. Yeah. And it's amazing to see, like, from him being a car salesman to now being a sports agent, like a CrossFit athlete agent, to running Loud and Live, and then like now running HWPO. It's insane, like the amount of growth he's had since he's been doing CrossFit.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's nuts. And that's just really cool. How full circle everything comes. Like how you guys knew each other way back then, or you ran into him back then, and now like that's a crazy, really cool story. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I email him once in a while, like, hey, good luck on like, Wadapalooza, and hopefully no one drowns, because I know he gets like really stressed out like during like the swimming event, which I would be too. But like he's always
Yeah,
like he always responds back too, and it's awesome. Like and like if he doesn't respond back, like or schedule something, like his assistant will be there, and she's super helpful too as well. And she actually connected to me with another. I think she connected me with a fellow diabetic too that I interviewed on my podcast. So
that's awesome.
yeah, and he's super nice. So I've never had any bad things to say about him, like one bit.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So back to CrossFit. So
Yeah, sorry.
no, it's all good, all good. So I know you said you started at CrossFit in West Virginia. So like, what made you get involved with CrossFit or start doing CrossFit?
Yeah, this is a great story. So, my mom is actually the one who got me into CrossFit. I graduated high school, started going to classes in college. Wasn't really doing anything else. I was just going to class, not working out. I wasn't taking my health seriously. Like I said, I wasn't taking nutrition seriously. Was just kind of being lazy. And I remember I tried to go to the gym one day and do something. It was like back squats, and I just like could not do I couldn't figure out how to do a squat. It sounds like the weirdest thing, but I just remember like loading the bar up on my back, and I had like lifted before, but I had like 135 on there, and just like nothing felt right, like nothing felt good. And I was like, hey mom, would you be able to help me out? Like, can you connect me with somebody? Whatever. She gets me in contact with the CrossFit coach, and I go in during some off hours and just like having, like, put me through some back squat work. He starts to put me through some workouts after a couple of weeks. And then it was like, he kind of was the one who was like, pouring me the Kool-Aid a little bit.
Yep.
And one day I went in with my mom, and it was like right around class time, and I was just going to do my own thing. And they were like, oh, like, and the guy who was coaching me was also coaching the class. And they were like, oh, come on, like, let's do the workout. Let's, do, I think it was like 6-minute AMRAP of 12 kettlebell swings and 6 burpees. And then you rested and did it again. And I remember like almost throwing up after the first one, and then just like doing whatever I could on the second. And it was literally like that. It was like after I did that workout, I was like, all right, I'm coming back. And it was just like every day after that, I would go back in with her. So yeah, that's kind of my start story.
Very cool, very cool. And obviously, like you being a taller athlete, like what were some of the things you had trouble like starting out with when you first started CrossFit?
Yeah, a lot. All the handstand stuff, it took me a really long time to get all that. A lot of the gymnastics, like, I could pick up the machines pretty easily, like rowing and biking and things like that. The lifts, I was lucky enough early on to have an Olympic weightlifting coach in our gym. So I was able to learn a lot of the good technique to be able to help me to get to where I'm at now. And then, yeah, just all the other gymnastics, all the other skills that took so long. I mean, you know how it is. Like trying to figure out, like you watch somebody do a muscle up, like a ring muscle up, and you're like, okay, I see what they're doing. I see how it should look. And then you do it, and you're just like, what the fuck was that? Like, your legs are swinging all the way up, and you're like, I was like, how does this person make it look so easy?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I've done some work. Well, so for me, like obviously the handstand push-ups was like a hard, thing to do, because like obviously long levers, and even for me, like what else? Like the Olympic lifts, I had trouble with this, like the snatch, because like I'm literally pulling the bar almost like 7.5 feet up in the air. Like, my hands, I can touch the bottom of the net with my hands. And so it's like just pulling that weight all the way up over my head. And it was like just so challenging. But then like obviously making these things, these weaknesses into like kind of almost a strength. Like I love lifting heavy, but like I still have trouble with the gymnastics stuff, because obviously you had it with the West Coast Classic, but the bars, I'm not going to beat a dead horse about that thing, but like pretty much like the bars at the gym that I'm at, it's like they're all low, and so it's just kind of like managing that pretty much.
yeah, the I've been lucky enough, like at the couple of gyms that I've been at, I've had like super tall bars, like all the way. It's like nobody ever uses it until I come in and I start to use it. But yeah, you start to get used to that kind of stuff. But definitely a big learning curve. Yeah, with the lifting especially, because we are so long, like all the timing on everything is just completely off. And like even to have somebody coach you, like they kind of have to, like they really have to know what they're doing to make it applicable to like a tall athlete.
Hmm.
You know, like something that you're going to tell somebody who's 5'4" isn't what you're going to tell somebody who's, you know, as 6'4", right? Like it's just the dynamics aren't exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. So, when you started doing CrossFit, when did you realize like, hey, I'm starting to get really good at this, and I can maybe do something with it?
Dude, I don't know. Um, Honestly, it wasn't until like West Coast Classic last year that I was like, oh, okay, like you've got what it takes to hang. You know, I believe that I have what it takes to hang there. Like, but it probably wasn't until then that I really like realized what I'm doing is working, and
Hmm.
that if I keep pushing all my chips in, the way that I'm kind of looking at CrossFit and like my competitive career is that, you know, I'm kind of just getting started. Like this is just the tip of the iceberg, and so like I hope that I have a long time left, and you know, so like understanding that things take time, and that patience is needed for that growth, but also having the confidence to go into any competition from now on and be like, okay, you know, these guys that you used to, not that I don't look up to them anymore, but like they used to be all the way up here, and now you're taking the floor with them, right? Like
Hmm.
that's a really that's a really cool journey that I've been able to go through, and just to get to the point that I'm at and know that there's still more to go. That's what really fires me up.
Very cool, very cool. And then, you worked at OPEX for a little while too. So I
Yeah,
obviously, like, I don't want you to like, I'm not bashing them or anything like that. I mean, OPEX, they do great things for helping people out. So, you were a coach there for a little while too, and training. So how did OPEX help you out to become a better CrossFit athlete?
yeah. So, to become a better athlete, great question.
Even coaching too. So, because I know you're a coach right now as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if anything, it kind of helped me more. Well, actually, let me take you through the whole story of how I've like gotten
Yeah.
in with OPEX and whatever. So I started with a coach, because I was kind of in the boat like that I'm sure everybody finds themselves in, where it's like, hey, I need some more work. I need it to be personalized because there's, you know, these 5 movements that I can't do if they come up in a workout, and I don't know how to get better at them. Like whatever I'm doing isn't working. I need to figure out something that's going to work and figure out somebody who's going to help me do that. And so I found a coach. His name was Brian St. Andrews. Great guy. Love him. Still talk to him to this day. We started working together, and we worked together for probably 2 or 3 years. And it was just that idea that like, if you want to start to progress as an athlete, you have to focus on your weaknesses. Like you can't, especially now. This was 4 or 5 years ago,
Hmm.
and even then, the same things were true. Like if you wanted to be a good athlete, you had to make sure that you had no holes in your game. Now it's to the point where it's like you can't have even like a scratch in your game, right? Like everybody's at a super high level, and to get to that top 1% of the 1%, you really have to make sure everything is covered. So just having a coach and knowing that, you know, knowing and putting the trust into somebody else that they're going to take care of you and they're going to lead you to where you want to get to. I think that was really helpful for me learning it from a young age, because I could see where some athletes might be like, oh, well, I know what's best. I know my body. I know this and that.
Hmm.
You know, but when you can take that off of your plate, and that's not a responsibility of yours anymore, to sit down and write programming, or to, you know, to figure out, oh, what am I going to do this week, or what's my Metcon this week, you know, and you let somebody else, you trust somebody else to really like take that wheel for you, or take the reins, and like, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is where you're going to go. And like now for me, all I have to do is put everything into the program, right? Like I wake up, I already have my workouts for the day. I just have to go into the gym and put everything I can into that. So that's kind of how it helped me as an athlete. As a coach, you know, it again, same thing. Like you understand that each person, each athlete is coming from a different starting point and wanting to get to a different ending point. And so
Hmm.
being able to understand how to connect with the athlete or with a client, you know, how to communicate with them, how to help them towards their goals based on where they're at, like all of that stuff I've learned, you know, over the years. But it started with OPEX, and it started with that understanding between me and my coach, and now it's kind of blossomed to where I'm trying to do the same thing that he did for me.
Very cool. And so, with I know that you're with Underdog Athletics, and so
Mhm.
I do understand because like sometimes you see like a lot of CrossFit athletes move from like one camp to another, and it's like their time for the first camp is this like, okay, I need something a little bit different because it worked for a little while, but now it's not working out. So how did I know with Justin you've met with him before, but like what was the end deal? Because like there's a whole bunch of other programs out there that you could have choose like you could have picked from. What made you
Yeah.
decide to do Underdog Athletics?
I mean, really, it was just the connection that Justin and I made. I'm very much a person that puts relationships above a lot of other things, and like if you are somebody that I trust, then I'm going to fully trust you. And Justin was just like that, like from the first time that we met, and then over the years, just in the different ways that he's kind of mentored and led me and helped me along different points in my life and helped me through different things. Like that kind of gave me the trust. Like whenever we were discussing me moving across the country to come out here and join this training camp, like whenever he is giving me like his, maybe not blessing, but just whenever he's saying, hey, I think this could be a really good thing for you, I think this will be
Mm-hmm.
very helpful for what you want to do, that like I don't take that lightly coming from him. Like I take that with a lot of I put more weight on it, I guess, like, knowing that it comes from him and knowing that he has my best intention in mind. And so that part made it super easy. And that's what's like continued to, I mean, like, I don't know that I would ever, this is early on in my career, but I don't know that I would ever leave just because I know how much Justin cares about each one of us inside and outside of the gym. And I know what he's putting into us. And so like that level of care I feel like is unmatched, and like I wouldn't want to grow with a different coach.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So how does he connect with you like at a personal level compared to being an athlete?
The cool thing about our relationship is that it started before he was my actual coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been able to see me go through a couple of different things in life. Whether it's the highs of like graduating and making the move across the country and doing some of these things that I want to do, like, making it to West Coast or Granite Games, as well as the downsides. Like he's, been with me through a couple breakups now. Like he's been with me just through some tough times being out here, being alone. And I say all that to mean that, you know, him and I have this understanding before we even started working together. And so he knows what fires me up. He knows what motivates me. He knows, when I need some space to go through things on my own, or
Mm-hmm.
when he can step in and give me some guidance. And so being able to do that outside of CrossFit at first, like it just made that transition into the gym so much easier, because then he gets to see me work out every day, but he also gets to see me, not that I struggle with things, but like if I am struggling in the gym, or if I am, having those high highs, like he's able to kind of ride with me along the way.
Okay. And obviously, you have some amazing CrossFit athletes in the camp in Vegas.
Yeah.
So how have Carrie, Bethany, Danielle, Tolo, and the rest of the crew, like how has like each of those athletes helped you become a better CrossFit athlete?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was funny. I don't know if you saw me, but I waved. Danielle just walked by our
Oh,
house.
okay.
It's cool. We have this little, not like compound, but we just kind of all live close to each other. And a couple of us, like we literally live right next door. So that part's pretty cool. But, just being able to see the level that these guys work at, that's been super helpful for me to be able to say, okay, this is what I need to be doing if this is the level I want to get to. Um, you know, Everybody's in there day in and day out pushing hard in the gym. And like, it's easy to get caught up in results, and say like, oh, well, Danielle pushes me to be better at this workout and Carrie pushes me to be better here. Cause like, that's a given, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
anytime you're with people, you're going to push. But like as a tall athlete, I can't always compare myself to Carrie. I can't always be like, okay, yeah, we got a strict handstand push-up workout. Awesome. I
No
got
way.
beat
No
by 3
way.
minutes by
Yeah.
Carrie. Cool. Yeah. It's like, no, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but being able to kind of pick them apart and pick up on the things that they do. Carrie has been an awesome mental coach for me. Like having her in the corner of underdogs has been super helpful for me. And I just try to pick her mind on like, okay, hey, how do you go into this workout? Like, what are you telling yourself whenever this gets hard? Or, you're going through a competition weekend. Like, what's going through your mind as you place first on one event and, 300th on another event, in quarterfinals or whatever it is. And then, like I said, just being able to pick up on like their day-to-day routines. These guys are machines. Like they're professional athletes, like very much so. And just seeing the level of dedication that they put into their craft, that for me was like a big wake up call. It was like I was doing my own thing and kind of feeling like I was doing well, but looking back on it, just kind of getting by. And now that I've been able to see like, okay, this is what the process looks like to become a games athlete. Now I've been able to kind of build up my life and my routines and my patterns to be able to get myself towards that goal.
Okay, very cool. So I've heard Daniel Brandon's into mining Bitcoin now. So so are you getting involved with that too?
No Bitcoin mining for me. We gotta tease Danielle. She's fallen for a couple of those scams now. This is I think her second or third in my memory, like in recent memory, that this has happened. So that girl, somebody's got to get on her Instagram and just like block everybody, block all the new messages or something like that.
I can't, you know what? I always tell like the female like athletes, and probably with you too. Like I can't imagine the DMs that they get, and I can't imagine the DMs because you got a big following too as well. It's like what are the DMs that you typically get, and like or compared to them? Do they tell you what you get? What they get?
They don't tell me what they get. I've asked a couple of times just to be like, yeah, what's like the craziest DM that you get? And they told me some off the wall stuff. I definitely have not reached that level yet, but I don't know. The ones that I get are usually very, very positive and like, hey, I see you crushing it in this, or hey, like you're repping for the tall boys, like thank you, keep it up. Different messages like that, but nothing to what I can imagine that these girls get.
Yeah, I've had some athletes on here that have like at least like 500,000 followings, like half a million followers on like Instagram, and like they've told me stories, and it's just like, geez, it's bad. Like even my wife. So backstory with that, I met my wife through Match.com, like back when it was like very like taboo, before it was even a cool thing. And so she was telling me all like the messages and everything about like, like people meeting with her, and it was just like shaking my head the whole time. I'm like, I can't believe people actually write this shit to you.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like what would possess you to write something like that to somebody? Like, do you write it and think in your mind like, oh yeah, they'll respond to this. Oh yeah, they'll say something back. Like, what?
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
Well, even on social media too, where like you have people like just shit posting on like Twitter, just writing comments and just trying to get like a jab out of somebody, like jab at somebody, and it's just like, really, what's it worth?
Yeah, I don't get that, and I know because I've I think that these girls have been at that level for a while now, to where it's not as big of a deal to them, but like I couldn't imagine just having people like troll you, or having people like write, like you said, like write shit comments and write things just to try to get a rise out of you, like, or like to like put you down, or maybe not put you down, but like to say things negatively, like that must be tough to deal with. And I can imagine as a female, that would probably be a tough thing to try to handle, like being a high level athlete and then having to deal with all the negative commentary that comes along with it.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like can you just imagine if like social media wasn't around right now?
Yeah, be nuts. I don't know. I think that a lot of us would be out of jobs.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so I know I did read a thing on Morning Chalk Up about like Bethany have to like fall out for like the quarterfinals and everything because of her back. So was that like a really like a deep blow for the whole Underdogs athletic team?
Yeah, it was. Going through quarterfinals, or just going through hour a year, you have to be selfish. You know, you're really at the end of the day looking out for yourself and making sure that, you know, you're in the best opportunity that you can be in. But with that being said, like, you know, Carrie last year was just one of the best leaders that I've ever experienced. Like, just the way that she would carry herself, like, through our sessions and through our weeks of training. You know, she brought out like the best level in us, and it wasn't even that verbal, right? Like, she wasn't even like, "Hey, come on, like, we got to do this," and, you know, getting us to rally and, you know, doing like a 3, 2, 1, go. Like, there's nothing like that. It was just the way that the air that she brought into the room. You know, like, she just demanded that next level. And so whenever she had retired and not spent as much time in the gym, that torch got passed to Bethany. And it was the same way where, like, when Bethany showed up, like, you knew, like, it was time to, like, tie the shoes and let's get rolling like that.
Yep.
It was time to get serious. And so, you know, just knowing also the level of attention that she puts into everything, and to have it be something that's like as uncontrollable as it is, you know, like, she had put so much time into recovery. She was warming up for an hour. She would cool down for so long. Like, she would do all the accessory work, see the right people, like, do the right things. And to have something like this that's just, you know, continued to plague her over the years and, like, come up and bite right at quarterfinals, like, especially kind of coming after last year, you know, like, being able to watch her crush West Coast, but then not be able to compete at the games. You're like, okay, next year's her year. Like, she's just going to go off. And then this year comes and it's like, fuck, her back goes out.
Yep.
So it definitely took some air out of the room when you saw her hit the ground, or when you saw her, you know, kind of in pain there, you know, and you try to go on, but you also have to know that, like, she's dealing with that stuff however she needs to be dealing with it. And, you know, the best thing that you can do is just let her know that you're there for her. But yeah, man, and it's been tough, you know, like, rightfully so. She hasn't been in the gym as much. And so that's been kind of tough to see, because, like, we went from having, you know, Carrie and Bethany, and, you know, Tola was also here with us last year. And now, you know, Tola's gone overseas and Carrie's retired, and now Bethany's kind of, you know, not spending as much time in the gym. It's definitely tough, but kind of like we were talking about earlier, you can still try to pull those things that they did, and put them into practice. And whether it's on a leadership standpoint, or if it's just on your day-to-day, you know, how you're handling things, that's what I try to do, is, like, take what they're doing, or what they did and something that they were and who they brought out in others, and try to do that.
Okay.
So,
Did you wish?
tough, yeah.
Did you wish that Carrie did another year?
Hell yeah, I wish Carrie did like 10 more years. She's a
Yeah.
stud. It's so stupid. She'll come into the gym and I'll be like, "Oh, Carrie, like, what you been up to?" She's like, "Oh yeah, been working out for like an hour and a half a day, like, just running, doing some burpees, whatever." She'll jump into a workout with us and just fucking smash us, like, blow us all away. And we're just like, "Carrie, we thought you were tired. Like, what are you doing?" Oh, she's just so good, dude. And like I said, the atmosphere whenever she's in the gym changes. Like, she just brings a different kind of, like, energy that's so good and so fun to be around. So, like, I love seeing her whenever she's in the gym. I would give another year, but I definitely understand, like, you know, she's given a lot to this. She's done a lot with the sport.
Yeah.
So if she wants to take a break, she can take a break. Like, she's been busting her ass.
Yeah. I actually had her on my podcast a while back ago, and to be honest with you, like, that was the most nervous I was out of anybody. Because, like, she went to Michigan. I'm a big University of Michigan fan, and so obviously, like, you know, like, I didn't go to Michigan at all. I just been a big fan because Massachusetts doesn't really have college sports teams. Like, you know, anyway, so I met her, and it was just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm always in awe of, like, the people I have on my podcast, but I was like, I can't believe I have Carrie Pierce. Like, I'm talking to her right now. And so it's and, like, and she's so cool. And it's like, she's like, I'm just like another person, you know, just want to talk. That's it.
Yeah, that's literally how she acts. Like, she just acts cool as a cucumber. Like, normal as can be. Like it's crazy to say this stuff. Just because as a young, small town kid, like you would not think that these were going to be things that you're doing. But I have a key to her house. Like I go do monostructural work at her place. I'll walk into her house. She'll be filming power abs. I'll wait till she's done. We'll chill. We'll talk for 20 minutes. Like she'll ask me about my life. We'll talk about hers. And dude, she is one of the coolest people that I have ever met.
Yeah. And her power abs whole like programming is like killing it.
Crushing it.
Yeah. Yeah, she told me the numbers of like how many people she subscribed, and that was like a year and a half ago. And I can't imagine what the numbers are now. It's like, God, unreal. Super
That's
jealous.
what I mean. Like,
yeah.
She's in a place where she can capitalize on that, and so definitely taking the time away from the competing, to be able to work on that other stuff. That's awesome for her.
Yeah, I mean, you could only do CrossFit for so long, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I have a kind of like a weird question. So, since you've been in Underdogs, you've been there for a while. So, what does Underdogs athletics mean to you now compared to when you first started?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Throwing some hot takes here.
Yeah. No, I think that truthfully, whenever I had got here, Underdog, like we didn't have like a camp name. We didn't have anything going for us. And so the way that it felt was like, we were just kind of obviously not a couple of like ragtag athletes, but like I felt like I was the underdog I mean, I still feel like I am the underdog of the group, but like, you're with these really high level athletes. And so, for me, I'm always feeling like I want to try to prove something. Like I want to try to prove myself to them or prove myself to Justin or to the world, now. And as we've gotten a name behind us and as we've kind of gone down this road and here we are now a year later, I think that idea of being the underdog has really hit home with everybody. I think that everybody kind of feels this, not like chip on your shoulder, but just kind of feels this edge to be like, yeah, like, we're maybe not getting the love that everybody else is getting, or we're maybe not getting the attention, or, maybe people aren't picking us, but like, we're going to show you, like, we'll show you one day. And, kind of just that idea that like the wolf climbing the hill is hungrier than the wolf on the top of the hill. And that's kind of the idea that I try to take and that we try to take into training every day. It's like, we've got to be hungry. Like we haven't made it to the top of the hill yet. And that hill is always, we're never going to really reach the top of it. It's always moving, but, we got to show up like hungry every day. Like I think that we kind of feel like we're a group of people who maybe, aren't blessed with the most like talent, or aren't like inherently the most, like, hey, this is God-given skill and talent and potential. We all believe in that potential in ourselves, but like we have to show up every day and work hard for it and bust our ass and put everything into it. And so I think that as we've kind of put a name to the underdogs, it's really started to show just in the mentality of the group every day. Like whenever we show up, we're just hungry. We're just ready to eat.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys have like I know you guys are building a whole new gym for yourself. So are you guys going to have like a saying like on the wall or anything like that? Or is there like a saying that Underdog Athletics has already that they're going to put on the wall?
We don't have an exact saying. That's a better question for Justin, because he's kind of obviously the mastermind behind that. Mm-hmm. I think everybody gets fired up differently. And, what fires me up isn't going to fire Danielle up. But that's one thing for me that's been really helpful that's been really prevalent in my mind the last couple of weeks, like especially training for semis, is that, the wolf climbing the hill's got to be hungrier. And so, every day that I wake up, it's just like, what can you do? What can you do better each day? And I would venture to say that if you talk to each of the underdogs, they would probably all have something similar going on.
I should have asked that question to Carrie, but obviously, like I thought of it like a couple of days ago, and I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be a good one. So, but I should have asked that last year. But you finished quarterfinals. So where obviously they already have the areas like where you can apply for and stuff. So what do you call it, championships have you actually applied for?
Are you talking about like semifinals?
Yeah,
Like which
semifinals.
semifinal?
Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. So I got placed at the Granite Games. They did a seating, or they did like a review, or I don't know what kind of process you want to call it, where they asked each athlete last year, like, hey, where do you want to go? Rank it on a scale of 1 to 4. And then I think that they took into place like, geographically where you're at, and if there were travel restrictions, this and that. This year, to my understanding, they kind of just did a seating, schedule for everybody. So it was just like, hey, if you're first, you're going here, second, third, fourth, and just went down the list.
Mhm.
So I got the Granite Games. I got some heavy hitters there. So we're definitely hungry for it.
Yeah. Well, this is a good thing is like last year they were throwing some crazy weights, like some heavy weights around, and you could throw some heavy weights too. So that might be right up your alley.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, you have to be confident in your preparation, but you just have to be an athlete. Like, you're not going to know what they're going to give to you. You're not going to know how it's going to feel on that day. So just being able to go in and say like, okay, hey, we've trained for this. Like, we can adapt on the fly. We can adjust. I think that my preparation through Justin this year and through the help of our other coaches out here, I think we'll be ready for whatever it is. If it's rowing and wall balls, that's awesome. If it's strict handstand push-ups and I don't know, strict handstand push-ups, we'll be good for that too.
Yeah. So you obviously you said about strict handstand push-ups. So obviously there's some workouts that will benefit the shorter athletes compared to taller athletes. So how do you kind of gauge on trying to beat athletes in certain workouts as being a taller individual?
Yeah, I don't really look at like what other athletes are going to do, because I think that that's a tricky game where you look at a workout and say, oh well, the best athletes are going to go unbroken on this piece, right? But maybe for me, the best score isn't going to be by going unbroken.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something as a tall athlete, like I've learned a lot of that from Brett, because he's very much one of those athletes that says, okay, well, yes, the best athlete's going unbroken, but I'm going to break 5 times and have a 5-second break on each set. And, I'm going to get 5th on this workout. So I think, really what it comes down to is maximizing your potential and making sure that you do everything in your power to get as many seconds and as many reps and as many points as you can on each workout, staying within your lane, right? Like if I try to reach and do something that, Carrie could do, like that's a great example. If I try to do something that Carrie could do, I'm going to come up short. But if I stay within my power and do what I can, as long as I'm doing that, I think that my score will be, I can't be mad at what my score is, right? Like if I have workouts that I'm doing next to, Colton Mertens, who's 5'6", or however tall he is, right?
Yeah.
I can't be mad if there's 10 of that style of athlete and I get 11th place,
Mm-hmm.
But if there's 10 of them, but I get 25th place, and I'm like, well, I messed this up and I could have done this better, and I rested too much here, too less here. Like, those are the kinds of things that I think about in workouts.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I kind of have the same. I have the same thing because it was like this. I've told this story before, but there's this. I went to this CrossFit gym, and there's this 18-year-old like cross country, athlete. He's in high school, and he was like half my size. And so we did a pull-up workout, and so I was filming it just to see, just to make myself better. And I stopped and I paused. I'm like, what number are you on? And he's like double to where I am. And so I looked at the video. I'm like, every one pull up I have, he's already banging out like 2 in a row. And I'm like, all right, well, I can't, there's no way I'm going to be able to beat him on that. So there must be like another, like running or, heavy weights or like the Olympic lift at the time. I'm like, I have to gauge on going unbroken some other way just so I could beat him in that workout.
Yeah, that's another thing that I like to do too, is like finding areas within workouts that like I know I can push on, or knowing, where my level is for that. Whether like the other day we had a running, so it was 400 run, 100-pound dumbbell snatches, box jump overs, and then chest to bars and handstand walks. And going into that workout, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get smoked on the chest to bars and handstand walks. Mm-hmm. So you have to give yourself enough time to let other athletes kind of catch up to you. and hope that you'll stay a little bit ahead of them and then make up more time on the next piece. So it's just like that. It's like figuring out little things within workouts, or like figuring out, okay, if I break here for 10 seconds, can I go unbroken on this piece and make up my time and, catch that person that was right ahead of me, like whatever it is. And so especially like as an athlete, whenever you're looking at points over a weekend, you've got 5, 6, 7 workouts, you have to be able to maximize those points. And so doing things like that, being able to say, okay, hey, it's running in heavy thrusters. I'm not going to be faster than somebody on heavy thrusters, but I can smoke them on a run. I'm going to go ahead and try to do that. I'm going to push this run or push this piece and see what happens from there.
Yeah, very cool. So obviously, I did hear that you are now a coach at Underdog Athletics too. And so how did that come about?
Yeah, that was really Justin looking out for me. And some things that happened to where I was out of a job and needed, something to kind of keep this dream alive. And he was like, hey, we are launching Underdogs Athletics as a blanket template program for now. We're going to get to the point where we need some individual coaches for people that want that. Is that something that you want to do? And so really just him, having the faith and trust in me that I would get the job done and not represent anything bad for his company or for his name. And just him being able to look out for me there. That's really where I got started with the coaching side. And been doing it for almost a year now, so it's been really fun.
Very cool. So obviously, like each coach has a different style of training people and showing people what to do and stuff like that. So what's your style of training?
Just like to yell at people, get in their face. No, I'm kidding. I'm like the opposite. I'm like the most laid back coach. What I like to do is just let people let them understand that I have a lot of care for them, whether I communicate that on a daily basis or not. And so like sometimes what I'll do, like I did it this week, I sat down with a couple of my athletes and I literally showed them the big picture of what they were doing. And this is people who are, maybe a couple months into their progression or whatever, but I'm like, hey, this is why you're doing this piece. And this is why you're doing this piece, and this is why you're doing this piece, and broke it down piece by piece, and just said, hey, these are all the ways that these are connected. This is what this is going to help. I understand that maybe I don't communicate with you on a day-to-day basis, but I do have all of these thoughts behind all of your programming, and trying to respond to them, trying to do to let them know that you care about them. That's what I'm trying to do. Here's all my underdog friends. Wave hello.
What up?
This is Thomas.
How's it going?
That's Danielle, Kyra, and Christine Best.
Oh, very cool.
Walking with some Chipotle.
Yeah, nice. I love Chipotle. Love Chipotle.
Told you, it's crazy here. People just hanging out.
Yeah, very cool. So what are your goals for coaching? Are you trying to get more clients? Are you trying to learn different techniques of coaching? What are you, and obviously being a CrossFit athlete is the most important thing, but what are you trying to do as a coach?
So really, I think that they're connected. I'm realizing that more and more. I want to spread my message to people, and spread, the idea that if you believe in yourself and if you put that effort into yourself, you can create whatever goals you want to create for yourself, and you can accomplish those. And doing that through coaching is really cool because you can it almost feels like I'm both leading the horse to water and teaching them how to drink the water. It's you're showing them what to do by giving them the actual programming, but then you're teaching them how to work hard and focus on themselves and do the right things for their body and sleeping, eating, all that kind of stuff. And you're kind of doing that in ways that show this person that I do know how to do that. I do know how to eat well. Now I can hold you hold them accountable for a little bit, and then they're you go a week without talking to them or 2 weeks, and they're oh, hey, I'm still doing this, this, and this. Right. And so it's just that idea of being able to kind of guide somebody along, but get them to the point where I don't want to work with an athlete for 3 years, 4 years. Like at that point, if you are based on what your goals are, but like at that point, I want to be able to let you like let go of my hand and keep walking, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yep.
get to the point where you can do that stuff on your own. Like you now have the knowledge and the tools, so you're almost teaching them how to, how to do these things for themselves. Not like the nitty gritty of writing program, but you're teaching them how to, make mind muscle connections. You're teaching them how to, how to pair together workouts or how to approach workouts and attack different weaknesses and all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully that answered the question, but that's what I try to look at whenever an athlete leaves me is like, did I leave as much of an impression on them as I could have? And if not, how could I have done better?
Yeah, I'm the same way too, because I was a former personal trainer before I became a medical recruiter because I needed better insurance for my insulin. So that was like the only way I could do it. So yeah, like because my main goal is when I had my clients was, okay, I need you to know what you're doing after I leave. Because obviously I was at a global gym and it was like not a CrossFit gym or anything like that, because some of the people I made all my clients do CrossFit workouts at the gym.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want you to understand, like you said, like muscle memory, like how to move and all that good stuff. So that's my main thing is like when I leave or when you leave, I want to have the other trainer that's training you make it like so much easier for them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's, that it's different for every person. Like they're at different levels, but like when you do make that breakthrough and somebody like is like, oh yeah, I get it. Like that's the coolest feeling in the world. Like whenever they make that light bulb switch for themselves, it's like, there you go, you got it.
Yep. Or they hold like a 20-pound med ball and they're like, wow, this was me like a couple months ago when I lost like 20 pounds. I'm like, yeah, that's 20 pounds right there. And she's like, they're like, I'm walking around like that. And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Very cool. So we're getting close to the end. So I've seen a lot of your Instagram posts and I've seen a lot of Japanimation shirts. So what's your favorite show, or like what made you get involved? What made you like start liking Japanimation?
So actually what got me started was I met Tola. I'll relate I will give all that credit to him. I was like kind of just like not watching TV or like not knowing what to watch, and he was out here and I was like, hey, like, what do you think I should watch on TV? And he was like, oh, you should watch Avatar. Start with Avatar, The Last Airbender. I was like, okay. So I started with Avatar, got into that, started watching, Dragon Ball Z, started watching Naruto, started watching, Demon Slayer and now the list is just kind of going on and on. So, I don't know. It's fun. I like it. People are always like, oh, why do you like anime? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I just enjoy watching what it is. And then the stories behind it are always cool. So.
All right. Very cool. Well, so out of all the anime shows, which one's your favorite?
Oh man. It's gotta be Demon Slayer.
Okay.
That was the first one that I like really got into. And I just love like the character and the development of Tanjiro. So that's my number one.
Okay. All right. So we already talked about you going to semis. So do you have any goals for like the rest of the year? It could be like personal or, athletic wise.
Yeah. I mean, I will never not say that the games is the goal. Cause like that'll always be at the top of my mind. Like, going to the games, being top 10 at the games, making it to the podium, like that's what fires me up every single day. Like those are always going to be goals. Really what I want to get out of this year is like, I went through West Coast Classic last year, not really fully trusting myself. And then also like letting doubt creep in. Like it was just a very emotional roller coaster last year. And so my goal for this year is to make it be as opposite of that as I can, and just go in and be like, all right, like you're keeping an even head. If you have a great event, cool, come back down for the next one. If you have a bad event, that's fine. Pull yourself up. You got another one. And so going through like I've done that twice now through the open and through quarterfinals to be able to say, okay, you've kept your head pretty cool. Now we've got semifinals as another way to like really test that. I'm going to be out of my comfort zone around a bunch of other competitive athletes, and so that'll be a true test. But that's really what I'm looking forward to for semifinals. And I feel, I've always said this. I feel like if I give my best and if I maximize what I can do, that's going to be good enough to make it on. And if it's not, then we've just got some more time to work on it. But I don't think that anybody out there goes out there believing that they can't accomplish their goals. So that's really where I'm coming at this year, is just saying, hey, make sure that you do everything in your power to make that weekend happen. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. You've got more to work on, but don't come away with it saying, oh, I wish I would have done this. Oh, I could have done this better. Don't have any regrets that way.
Okay. Well, just remember you have all the tall guys rooting for you too. So
hell yeah. Appreciate all you guys.
So what's a favorite book that you like to read?
Oh, a favorite book? Well, I mean, oh man, I'll tell you what, I haven't been reading as much as I would like to. The one book that I read often is The Daily Stoic, and that's just like a little morning read just to kind of help me before I journal. One book that I started rereading recently was it's called How Champions Think by Bob Rotella, and that was a book that Justin had recommended to me. It was he worked as a golf coach, which is cool because I enjoy playing golf, and that Justin actually plays a lot of golf as well. But it's a golf coach that kind of like uses bigger picture lessons through the lessons of golf. So it's cool to be able to relate to that and be able to pull some things from my own training.
Okay, cool, very cool. Yeah. What's in your gym bag right now?
Oh man, right now not much. I think I've got a couple of bands. I've got some like BCAA pre-workout by Nova 3 Labs.
Okay.
I've got my new pair of Metcons, spare pair of socks. That's about it, man. Sweatbands. I've been packing more like headbands and wrist guards, like wrist sweatbands, because it's been getting hot here. Like it was like 91 today.
Oof.
So we're back up on that track. So yeah, it'll be nice and toasty.
Yeah, you should train in Georgia weather.
Yeah,
it is so humid, and like so I would train in my basement, and it was unfinished, and there was like no ventilation whatsoever, and so I'd open the windows, and it got to the point where like I would sweat so much that like the sweat would just dry up right when it hit the concrete. It was so hot.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm like, there's times I'm like, I wish I had a sweatband. There's like times I'm only wearing like, just the compression shorts because like the shorts were just like too hot, and I was just like, screw it. So. Yeah, it's a whole different breed of just training down here.
Yeah, man, that was the biggest noticeable change from back home. Was like there you could feel how hot it was. You could just feel it on you. And I'm sure down in Georgia it's even worse. But like out here you don't feel it. So you're like, oh, like I barely sweat. Like I didn't lose that much fluid. It's not that hot. Blah blah blah. Then you look at your thing, or you go walk in the sun. And you're like, oh shit, it's 100. Like I've drank 2 cups of water today. I gotta get that up.
Yeah. I hear you. So I know, let's just say if you're looking for a new sponsor. So what are you looking to sponsor, and what's the kind of relationship you're looking for?
Ooh, great question. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a clothes company, actually. Like somebody that I like, somebody whose stuff I can rep that I like, that's both like stylish, that looks good, or that's got some of the some of the anime throwbacks or vintage tees or whatever like that. I don't know. I like companies that like believe in me. Like I haven't done, like my list of accomplishments is not where I want it to be. It's not where I think, it's not that high yet, right? Like I don't have that big of a track record. And so just the fact that people are taking the opportunity or the chance to say, hey, we see what you're doing. We believe in you. We want to try to help you out. Like that means the world to me. So just like having the couple companies, like having Waterproof reach out to me, and having RPM and having, a couple of the other people that have said like, hey, we see you on this journey and we want to help you out. Like that means the world to me. So, I guess that's kind of, and that kind of goes along with the underdog mentality, right? It's like, being the underdog, but having somebody say, hey, like I'll put my chips in on you,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Let's just say today was your last day on Earth. You're lying in bed and, you're talking to people, and how do you want people to know you as?
Man, it's a good question. I actually do think about this often. I want people to think of me as, obviously happy, laid back, easygoing, always cheerful. But at the same time, I want them to feel like I left them with something or felt
Mm-hmm.
like I impacted them somehow, and that there was something that I did, whether it was something I said or some way that I lived, that they could look at and say, hey, I want to live my life this way, or hey, I want to try to do this how Matt did it. That's really what I think I want people to, look back on and try to take from my life.
Okay. I like that answer. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So, where can people reach out to you and like shoot you some like crazy DMs or anything like that? Or
At Matt Dlugos, just my name, straight up, no abbreviations, no hyphens, nothing like that. Just at Matt Dlugos. I won't give away all my information. I can't give away my number or anything like that. Sorry,
yeah.
ladies.
Well,
But
it is funny. I've actually talked to some athletes and I've interviewed them, and I've actually connected them through the DMs, and I've actually noticed they leave their phone numbers by accident, by accident.
yeah,
And so I would talk to them and be like, "Hey, your phone number's on Instagram right now. You might want to take that off." And they're like, "Oh shit!" So and they have to take it off. Yeah.
I have noticed that. It happened to me one time. It was really fucking weird. Somebody just started like calling me, and they were like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about personal training." And I'm like, they're like, I want to do sessions with you in person like this Friday. And I'm like, you live in a completely different country than me. Why are you calling me? And then I'm like, how did you get my number? And it was something with like how I set up the business account or something. I think I got it taken care of, hopefully. But if not, just don't call me. I'm not going to pick up anyways. But
well, thank you.
You can call me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, I do appreciate, talking to you and learning a little bit more about you. I did want to talk about Wadapalooza, but it's getting too late, and I got to be honest with you. It's almost 10 o'clock here, and I need to go to bed. So, because I'm one of the crazy psychos that get up at like 4:20 to go work out at 5. So,
yeah,
it's priorities.
Then.
Yeah. So, but I would love to have you back on, especially after the Granite Games and stuff like that, and and just kind of see how your year's going.
Heck yeah, man. Let's link back up.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this.
Of course, man. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thank you for doing this.